right, everybody, welcome back to Sebring Live. Looking in here as we get ready for SVRA Groups 6 and 12A, Ben.
Yeah, so happy to be back here at the Sebring SpeedTour. We love starting here at Sebring. So much history has been made here, and we've got some history happening here with SVRA. So we were wondering what happened to Peter Kloot in that last historic Trans-Am. Well, he's there in position number 1 in his Group 6 Chevrolet Corvette. So he must have just come into pit lane to duck in there as they come around this Bennett Bridge Hull section. Then Phil Lasco, then Gary Moore in that Shelby GT350, John Strauss, Jonathan DeGainer in that Devon Evolution, Renee Tursilla, who's going to be crowned our champion tonight in that Ford Mustang FP350S, Alan Davison, Wyatt Dallenbach, Wally's son, Carlos Gann, Samuel Lecomte, Maurizio Sarasoli, Sebastian Coppola, Chris Boutillier, Steve Yarborough, Fred Benedict, Victor Korda, Ed Boyajian, and Robert Daimler, and then John Coyle runs up our group as they come down here to Sunset under the Mission Bridge. We have 2 Mission Bridges here at Sebring, and then we're going to let Ralph take us away to the green flag. But I love your style, Ralph. You like to hear the noise as much as I do as they come into one.
Oh, yeah, and crank up the volume on that big Corvette. Can't wait to hear that thing come thundering by our broadcast booth with Peter Kloot behind the wheel. As they come out of the final corner, we're looking at the flag stand, waiting for the green. Waiting. There we go. Hard into the throttle. Here we come. And that big old Corvette leads them all down into turn number 1. Couple of Mustangs coming up the inside.
John DeGainer around the outside in that Devon.
But Peter Kloot's going to lead him through 1, through 2, and on to 3.
Now, Ralph, you may not know this, but Gary Moore, Peter Kloot go way back, and they're battling for first and second. And there's a little bit of a rivalry there, so we may see something incredible here today, folks.
Well, and of course you got Ford versus Chevrolet. That always gets interesting too, right?
Yeah, well, let's ask our comment section. Is it Ford, is it Chevrolet, or are there any Mopar fans out there? Uh-oh.
Well, here we go with a move up the inside. That's the 14 machine. Is that John Strauss? Yeah, I believe it is. Strauss making the move, taking over the lead.
John's in the green car. I'm not sure. Yeah, I always know John is in that lime green car.
All right.
So that's
Phil Lasco.
Yep.
Phil Lasco in his Ford Mustang.
And Phil Lasco races in TA2 with us sometimes as well. But just love these Group 6 American muscle cars as Group 6 from basically 1972 or older. Group 12 is big bore production cars from 1973 or newer. And a few Porsches wrapped around in there as well. But watch for Peter Kloot. Once his tires come to him, he's got a lot of power. Let's see if he can get back up there with Phil Lasco.
And just for fun and a little different engine note, right there you see the white one going by. That's the 288. Seb Coppola brought out his Ferrari 458 Challenge Series machine, which is a beautiful car.
He has another Ferrari here this weekend as well that we saw him in. He's also the president of the Formula 5000 Club.
Yep.
Here they come.
Let's see that Corvette if it can stretch its legs out here and reel that Mustang back in.
Since Peter Kloot is in a Group 6 GT Corvette, that either means he's got a big block in that thing or he's got some upgraded brakes. So let's see if he can catch up to Phil Lasco, who is also a very talented driver. There's that blue dot I was talking about on the bridge. That is the smoothest line around 17. It's a little bit counterintuitive, but if you go right under that blue dot, that's what Skip Barber and Jim Pace would teach you to do. So it's Ford, Chevy, Ford, and then a Devon, which I believe is part MGA, part Corvette engine. It's just kind of put together. It's got an MGA frame in the rear. It's got a 327 Corvette engine. John DeGainer's father raced that back in the 60s, and now he's still racing it here in Sebring in the Group 6 GT category.
Bit of a Frankenstein.
Yeah. And what's funny about vintage racing, a lot of people don't know this, these drivers and owners are constantly developing these cars. They're still developing because technology changes, tire compounds change, shocks change. So it's really fun to watch.
There's a good look at it right there. Hard on the brakes for Mission Turn 7.
There's John Strauss and that green Mustang coming side by side.
He's making a move alongside the 9. I believe that was Samuel Lecomte in his Chevrolet Camaro.
Yep. That's a new car. I haven't seen Sam Lecomte in that. And then we see Renee Trisilla going around the long way.
I think that was Fred Benedict, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, their cars look alike.
Yeah, I think Fred just did the smart thing there and got off the gas and a little light on the brake pedal to let it roll through the...
I'm glad you caught that because Renee would text me so mad that I called him wrong on that. Sorry about that, Renee.
Hey, it happens. Especially when you have cars that look very similar.
It is crazy, though. These are what I consider modern Mustangs versus vintage Mustangs. They're still doing very similar lap times.
Isn't that something?
So I've got a trivia question for you.
Oh, we lost Peter
fans.
Kloot.
Yeah, we did. Uh-oh. Again.
Peter Kloot is gone in the... Well, maybe he's got another race coming up.
I doubt it. But that's Wimbledon white on those Shelby GT350s. But
yes.
Who knows the name of the blue?
Well,
he told me yesterday.
The American Racing Stripes.
Do you know the answer? There's a code name for it.
I'm sure there is a code name.
Where's our comment section on this one?
But I do know that the reason why it's blue and white is because that was the colors of...
That's our FIA colors.
Yeah, the FIA colors
for America.
White and blue or blue with white.
That's why the Speed Tour is blue and white.
Yeah.
There's John DeGainer coming into Cube 3 Architecture, turn 1. Look at the setup of this car.
So don't leave me hanging. What is the code?
I don't know. I'm asking that. He told me, and my attention deficit has gotten me, so I'm hoping that our experts know here. And Jerry Robinson, Jerry, I'm sad you're not here. Jerry Robinson, former champion, also Amateur Mechanic of the Year in his green Dodge Viper. He always says Mopar or no car, but look at that Jägermeister Porsche. I love that car.
You know, there's a whole series of those Jägermeister liveried race cars, and they're all stunning. Something about that orange, that Jägermeister orange, just made for a tremendous-looking machine. Seen the Porsche 935 in Jägermeister colors. There's a 962 running around, 956, I believe, as well.
Look at how tight they are. Gosh, come on, gentlemen, let's get through there.
And if I'm not mistaken, there's also a 934 Porsche in Jägermeister colors out there.
So Joe Nardo, my hero for the day, Guardsman Blue. That is absolutely correct. And then
thank you, Joe.
Alex Cox says Grabber Blue is the Ford Boss 302.
Right.
But Guardsman Blue is the name of those stripes on those Shelby GT350s.
Top of that Wimbledon white.
We've got some experts in our comment section here.
That we do. And is it the color combination or the design of the car? Because it's such a simple paint scheme, right? We know why it's there, but it's a simple color scheme. But it just looks so good, doesn't it?
Yeah. I've often wondered, I love the C-Type and D-Type Jag. Is that because I love the design or I love that
British
they won
Racing
everything?
Green.
You know what I mean? So is the design of that car, the Shelby, so good because it looks good as a design or because it was such a good car that you fall in love with the paint scheme of it? I don't know.
Yeah. It is a great-looking car. There's no doubt about it. And Carroll and his guys certainly tweaked it to the perfection, didn't they?
Yeah. So Phil Lasco, the class of the field in this, great race in there from Phil Lasco in that red Ford Mustang GT. I wish they had the years on our timing sheets here.
I was thinking the same thing.
Definitely a more modern of the Mustangs.
Yeah.
And then there is Gary Moore. Gary Moore, it's funny because most of the people, they think if you're driving a Ford, you're going to be kind of against Chevy or Dodge. But he has Calvin sticker urinating on a Porsche logo because all these American muscle cars hate to be passed by these Porsches and Jaguar more sporty cars like that Jägermeister Porsche there.
Well, if you love Corvettes like I do, nice to see Steve Yarborough out here with his as well. You just saw it go by. There he is, just in front of the Jägermeister Porsche.
Look at that thing. Just when they get on the brakes, right? And you don't know which way it's going. So I'm guessing because it's not a split window, that must be a 64, 65.
Yeah.
But what I love about vintage racing, Ralph, is totally different. So you've got an air-cooled rear-engine car versus a front-engine, rear-wheel drive, just monster like that. But they're doing very similar lap times. There were so many different variations on how people did cars back in the day. Where now more modern racing, all the cars kind of look the same.
So the other thing I like about vintage racing too, Ben, is that there's a little something for everybody, right? No matter what style of sports car racing you like, you're pretty much going to see all of it there.
Yeah.
And if you go to a big enough vintage event, you're going to see open wheel machines, and you're going to see every kind of closed wheel car possible, sedan racing, you name it, prototypes and so forth and so on. The other thing is the cacophony of sound, because you can just stand there on a long straightaway and just listen to all those different engine notes go by.
I love also the shot that we just had of Robert Daimler and John Coyle fighting for the back and fighting wheel to wheel at the back. And that's where I am when I race. I'm at the very far back of the field, but having the biggest smile on my face and having just a great time.
Well,
and if you have somebody to run with, that's what it's all about.
Vintage racing shouldn't be all about the wins. It's got to have a lot to do with the grins too, right?
Yeah. So here it is, right here.
Here's
the battle
you were talking about, and look at the move to the inside.
Maybe the best battle on the track right now.
To those two it is. Oh, it's going to get a little crazy too. Dipping the wheel. Oh, boy, look out.
Save it.
Keep it off the barriers. Oh, great bit of defensive driving too.
Mm-hmm. So I'll take blame for that, John Coyle, because you missed my mission banner that I put up there, the brake marker. I think he tried to miss that, and then he overcorrected. So I'll take the blame on that. I'm sorry about that. But John DeGaynor behind Gary Moore. These are two good friends. I just saw John DeGaynor heating up his brakes into turn 3, but there's that Corvette again. Look at him. When he gets hard on the brakes, each of these older Corvettes, they shift about 1.5 feet to the left or the right, and it's up to the driver. It's almost a guessing game. Which way is it going to shift when I get on the binders here? And that Porsche, you can see, is just planted like a Porsche would be.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what happens as they go into Q3 architecture turn 1.
Oh, man.
Oh, John
DeGaynor
DeGaynor
turn 7.
around Gary Moore. Gary Moore's not going to like that. And that Shelby GT350. Ed Boyajian in that muscle.
Oh, and the Camaro is off as well. Car number 9.
Sam LeCompte.
Yep.
He is a part owner of Eagles Canyon. We're going to be at the Eagles Canyon Speed Tour in just a few weeks.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to going there. I've never been there.
I haven't either, and I've heard great things just outside of Dallas, Texas. We're going to make a big event out of that, so hang tight for the Eagles Canyon Speed Tour with a huge car show. That should be Robert Daimler coming down the back straight because he lost his driving partner, John Coyle, and I bet you he was just as disappointed. Now, do you prefer the fastbacks or the notchbacks like that?
Fastback guy for sure.
I do too, yeah. And I kind of thought everybody did, but no, there's a huge fan base for those, just like Fox bodies and the more modern ones.
No, if you gave me a 65 fastback, I think that's probably the hot ticket there.
Yeah, I like that. Or the Boss 302s.
Well, 65 certainly in a street car.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the Boss 302 in the race car, right?
So Lasco making the pass here, taking the lead, putting him a lap down. But yeah, but I wouldn't complain if you gave me any kind of mistake.
Oh, no.
So John DeGaynor now currently in second in that Devon Evolution. He has been a champion many times over in our Group 6 GT, and then Gary Moore in that true Shelby GT350 from Cobra Automotive.
And, of course, if I had your money, I'd have one of each.
Yeah.
Right?
I've got one of each in a Hot Wheel.
Yeah. Right.
That is Robert Daimler coming into Mission Foods turn 7. We lost some Mission Food signs in the TA2 race today.
Sure have. And it has definitely thrown a lot of drivers off their
So here's two modern
There's
cars.
Seb in the Ferrari 458 Challenge Series car.
And those cars sound amazing, but you just can't hear it over the roar of these other cars. John Strauss tries to look inside there at 3.
Did you see the P4 replica that Seb has here this weekend? Ferrari P4.
I was really hoping he was going to run it this weekend on the live stream because beautiful car.
It is absolutely stunning. It has a Ferrari FF engine and a shooting brake engine.
Yeah, he's always bringing out some cool cars with us.
Really nice man.
Yeah, he is. That's Fred Benedict in the Ford Mustang, Group 12 MP4. But there is our leader, Phil Lasco. Phil has had a great race. That car looks planted. I love back in 2005 when Mustang went back to they kind of made silhouette shadow cars of that era Mustang, and I like then kind of all the car manufacturers followed suit because they became so popular.
Yeah. Look at that Corvette dancing around under braking. He had that thing sideways setting up for 7, gathers it back up, finds the throttle, and powers away from the Porsche.
But how funny, because what a great juxtaposition, because that Porsche rotates so well.
Perfectly, right?
Let's see if that Devon can catch Phil Lasco in that Group 6 GT car.
Got to be running out of some laps here.
Yep. Everybody's hitting that blue dot so far.
There's the white flag. One more lap to go, so my guess on the laps was about right. Lasco back into turn number 1. Started second here today alongside of Clute. Took over the lead and pulling away.
So John DeGaynor is going to be in the TransAm race with us tomorrow. His father is here watching him drive that Devon Evolution, and he's going to win his Group 6 if he keeps it up like that. And there's Maurizio, one of my favorite people in the paddock, always has a smile, has just such a fun time out there in that beautiful Porsche, the Group 12 911.
Maurizio Sarasoli?
I believe. When he says it, it sounds like music.
Well,
when I
yes.
say it, it does not. So Phil Lasco with about a half a lap to go here at Sebring International. 3.74 miles around this track. It had many different configurations, and in the early days, yes. I don't see how they navigated. They just had little peach buckets?
Yeah.
The little peach buckets you get at like a farmer's market. That's how they lined the track, and there are many stories of people getting lost at night during the 12-hour.
Being from around here, they're probably orange buckets.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Lots and lots of orange groves down here.
Getting some great images here from the new production company. Thank you guys so much for coming out. Some great camera operators. The drone has made my stomach drop on the 2 starts that I've gotten to see from the drone. And as the cars come through Bennett Bridge Hall, but take us home, Ralph, because Phil Lasco is about to take the checkered.
Working our way around on the final time, out onto the Ullman straightaway. Lasco has had a picture-perfect run in his Ford Mustang GT. Once he got around Clute, the challenges pretty much went away. All he has left to do is navigate the tricky final corner here at 17, which he does with ease. Checker flag awaits, and like that, Phil Lasco goes to the top step of the podium with a win here today in a Ford Mustang GT after starting the day in second. DeGaynor finishes second place.
First place, Group 6, though.
First place in Group 6. And then third across the line
is Gary Moore.
Gary
Moore is actually Group 6 BP, so they're all first in the way that we score it with the SVRA. I love that Ford Boss 302. That's John Cloud's car. Kurt Vogt's run it a little bit. That Grabber Blue, as we were talking about in the comment section, but that's Wally Dallenbach's son in that car here today.
Yep,
so it's just so cool. There's John Strauss. There's that Ferrari. I'm not a big modern car person, but I do like the 458s.
It's a great looking car. Great performing car.
Yeah, I remember when Ferrari went to the 488. Had a lot of international GT drivers say they prefer the 458. Oh, look at this!
Oh, battling to the finish. The Jägermeister Porsche making a run, but the Corvette's going to thunder its way to the line first.
I love it. This is what vintage racing is all about. The fun that you're having no matter where you are in the pack.
That's right. Rest of the field making its way across the line.
Graham Boyton says a lot of mission signs to replace. You are correct. I'll be here late tonight replacing those signs. So congratulations to Phil Lasco, Jonathan DeGainer, Gary Moore. But it's not over yet for the 572.
Yeah, Ed's making his way through the final corner.
What is a Ford Mustang FR 500S? I'm unfamiliar with that. Do you know what that is? Sure,
Ford
section.
Racing, I believe, is the FR part of it. I could be wrong. Let's see.
It sounds good. We have had beautiful weather here at the Sebring SpeedTour.
Sure have.
Which has been very welcome because a lot of our drivers have come down from like the Connecticut, Vermont, New Hampshire areas. So they're loving it. You can see the corner worker waving as they come into pit lane.
Yes, Ford Racing Mustang is what the FR stood for.
What's 500? The 500? Surely not displacement.
Turnkey race car, basically, with a DOT VIN.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take it to a break.
We'll be right back for more from Sebring after this. Stay with us. More racing coming your way live here on this beautiful Saturday afternoon.
Yes. Hon, the weather tech's here.
WeatherTech is the ultimate protection for your vehicle. Laser measured floor liners, no drill mud flaps, cargo liner, bump step, seat protector, and cup phone.
What about my car?
WeatherTech.
Hawk Performance packs 100 years of friction dynamics into every product. Backed by Carlisle Brake and Friction, the world's premier innovator of industrial brake and friction components, Hawk leverages R&D tools and motorsports experience to deliver uncompromising performance on the street. There's no reason to settle for less. Choose pads that are race-proven and street-legal. Find the Hawk Performance brake dealer near you at hawkperformance.com.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Sebring SpeedTour, and you can probably hear that I have a smile on my face. I have a lot of really good friends in this group right there. Frank Markham in that group, in that number 9 Red Bull car. So this is SVRA Group 10. Group 10 is kind of like a catch-all group with SVRA. Purpose-built race cars, tube frame cars that would have run in the Xfinity late model cars, NASCAR, Top Cup Series, TransAm, GTU, GTO, but then we also have some modern GT cars like Porsches and Ferraris out here. But this is going to be a really fun race because we are joined by the legend Front Row Joe Nemechek starting in second. Starting in first is Ryan Gemmel in a Toyota Camry. Front Row Joe starting second in a Chevy Silverado. One of my longtime friends in SVRA, Shannon Ivey, is in a Chevrolet Monte Carlo Group 10. Kurt Vogt is in a Ford Thunderbird stock car. Jeff Rocco in that Pontiac Grand Prix Miller Genuine Draft car. Then Frank Markham in that Ford Taurus Red Bull. Mark Mercurio, usually in a TA2 car in SVRA. This time he's in a Toyota Camry. We'll see what happens there. Glenn Stiers in a Toyota Camry stock car. Sam LeCompte in a Chevy Silverado Group 10 stock car truck. Scott Frazier, one of my good friends in that Dodge Charger. Scott Frazier went from a Austin Healey Bug-Eye Sprite to a stock car. And he's just having so much fun. And Carlos Gann, I think he's in your favorite, that Ricky Rudd car you were telling me about, and I think that's my favorite too. Donnie Etherly in a Chevrolet Monte Carlo stock car. Now we go to the 10 GT cars. Charles Wicht, look out for him in that Porsche GT3 Cup car. David Jans in a Riley and Scott Mustang. Alex Pratt in a Porsche 992. Mark Sandridge, hopefully he made it out there after that International GT race in a Porsche 911 Cup car. Ike Keeler in that Oldsmobile Cutlass Rocket Sports car. So who would have been, would that be Irv Hare? Who would have driven that? Or Brassfield, maybe? Brassfield, okay. Darren Brassfield in that
Darren
car.
is here this weekend.
He is? I haven't seen him.
Yeah, I saw him in the paddock earlier.
Nice. That's DJ there in that beautiful car, DJ Jans in that Riley and Scott Mustang. Then Rick Wolsifer in that Chevrolet Camaro. I've got a great story about him. Alan Davison with FPEC in a Ford Mustang. Steve Schuler in a Chevrolet Corvette. Michael Kern in a Chevrolet Camaro, and John Kyle, 25 cars in Group 10. I think we are going to have a split start with the stock cars and the GT cars. So let us know. We've got some NASCAR cars out there. Who's your favorite NASCAR? What's your favorite era of NASCAR? And let us know if you know anything about these cars or drivers here and who you're rooting for. But Ralph, as that Janetta leads down this first group, didn't ever think I'd say pickup truck coming into sunset here at Mission Foods. I drive my pickup truck every night and every morning to check on all my brake markers and make sure nothing blew over, but I like that Rusty Wallace Miller Genuine Draft car there of Jeff Rocco.
Was a iconic look that Rusty had. I'll tell you a little story about that when we get going.
Now, would that be a Mark Martin Valvoline Group?
That is actually a Smokin' Joe's Jimmy Spencer car that has been repainted into the Mark Martin livery. And we're coming to the green flag here. Green waves and we're underway, and they're going to go 3 wide headed to turn number 1. Who's going to get there first? Nemechek trying for the outside line, but it looks like Gemmel's going to be the first one there. And then here comes our second wave. And the Oldsmobile, the Mustang on the outside, the Oldsmobile coming up from 4th. There's that number 3 Shell Zone liveried Mustang of David Jans. Riley and Scott car.
We call him DJ Jans. One of the people that I would credit with saving the TransAm series, DJ Jans, and also came up with our Young Guns concept is Joe follows his friend Ryan Gemmel into Mission Foods Turn 7, then Shannon Ivey, Kurt Vogt, and then Jeff Rocco.
There goes that Ricky Red Motorcraft Ford and the old Clint Boyer Jack Daniels machine.
Porsches are to the back of the stock cars. So we're going to see some very mixed group, very similar lap times in totally different ways is the stock cars versus these modern Porsche. The Porsches have all the brakes and balance, and the stock cars have all the power and no brakes or balance.
No.
Now look at the different eras. You've got the car of tomorrow out there. You've got what I consider like the stock car era. There's that car of tomorrow. And then you've got back when the cars actually looked like the cars they were representing.
Yeah, the COT is definitely not my favorite look for NASCAR machines.
Talking to Paul Menard last year, he's our TA champion, and he loves the TA car because it feels like the car right before the car tomorrow, where he thinks NASCAR got it absolutely correct.
And the worst part was when they had the car tomorrow, and then the cars, you go to Pocono, and the cars were crabbing down the straightaways because they were tweaking the bodies so much to get the air onto those rear spoilers and get it off the spoiler, one part onto the spoiler and another, and it just, did not look good at all.
Look at front row Joe there in that pickup truck right behind Gemmel coming into turn one. You can see the bouncing there, and this is the first time I've seen Joe in that truck. I don't know if he had an incident and had to put a new body on it, but I've never seen Joe running around without anything on the body, but look at that.
Well, we know this one had an incident earlier today, and they've got it put back together and looking sharp. And
so
that
the
was
Shell Zone and the Oldsmobile are about the same era at TransAm.
They sure are. And that Jack Daniels livery was one of the best, I think, and a perfect match between Jack Daniels and Clint Boyer.
Yeah.
When it comes to picking the right guy to be your ambassador.
I agree, yeah. I don't know, though, that DuPont of Jeff Gordon, I don't know if it's because Jeff Gordon just won so much, but there's something about that DuPont livery to me.
Well,
I just think that's a good-looking livery.
It was radically different, right? There was nothing like that. Designed by my dear friend, Lord rest his soul, Sam Bass, who came up with that livery. And at one point in time, Sam had designed 40 of the 43 paint schemes that started the Daytona 500.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he was an incredible racing artist, and he's the one that came up with the legendary Jeff Gordon Rainbow Warrior look, and it is certainly one of the most iconic paint schemes of all time in NASCAR competition.
Now, being from St. Louis, I have to like Shannon Ivey and the Budweiser car, because St. Louis is funded completely by Budweiser. And Anheuser-Busch.
No doubt about it.
And Shannon's running third right behind front row Joe. And this is like, think about, you've been a racing fan your whole life, and now you're in a stock car behind one of your heroes. Could be Joe Nemechek out there, could be Bill Elliott out there. Ray Evernham's come out here with us. You know, so talking to Frank Markham, who one time at the Midi got to share the podium with Bill Elliott, it's like one of the highlights of his life.
Yeah,
you know?
Certainly. And you talk about the Budweiser car. Of course, Bill spent quite a bit of time driving the Budweiser car for Junior Johnson. And Joe Nemechek, originally from Florida, now living in the Mooresville, North Carolina area.
Did you ever think a Ford Thunderbird would look small against a Porsche?
No, no.
That was a kind of a weird view there, because you think of a Ford Thunderbird as kind of a bigger sedan, and then that Porsche dwarfed it.
Yeah. Well, 911s have certainly gotten heftier over the years, right? They've gone from being a true, very nimble sports car to more of a grand touring sports car these days, for the streets, certainly. Well, they're still tremendous race cars.
So Ryan Gemmel in that Xfinity car is still in the lead. Ryan Gemmel and Joe Nemechek, they're kind of partners there, and they're always building and working on the cars. Ryan, a fantastic driver, followed by Joe Nemechek. And I don't know if it doesn't seem like sometimes good drivers follow behind somebody and they work out where they're going to pass them. It doesn't seem to me like Joe has an answer yet for Ryan.
Not yet, but he might just be sizing up, letting his buddy lead a few laps, and then I'll lead the most important one, right?
Yeah.
Only need to lead one. Joe, as we mentioned, is a Busch Series champion before it became the Xfinity Series. He won the Busch Series championship. He also ran quite a few Truck Series races but he never won in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, which is kind of surprising.
Did you just jinx Joe Nemechek here?
Well,
now that he's in a truck.
Yeah, but I mean, not in a full-blown points-paying NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series event. But I find that shocking because Joe was a winner in basically everything he ever sat in, including the Cup Series, and he's an extremely talented driver. And he ran quite a few Truck Series races. I'm just surprised it never all came together for him.
There he is. But speaking of Joe Nemechek, you see that car, that very vanilla-looking car. We're at Watkins Glen, where some of the best ice cream in the world is. We're at the same ice cream place. He gets a cup of vanilla ice cream. As a longtime Joe Nemechek admirer, I was thinking at least sprinkles or something, but just vanilla with vanilla. A spoon. I was surprised by that.
Yeah.
The Interstate Batteries car, Norm Miller car. But there is the Carlos Gann car. But here we go, back to
the
front
ice
row.
cream at Watkins Glen. Don't let the folks at Road America hear you say that.
Yeah, the Dairy State. No, that's also very good. What's the Gessert's in downtown Elkhart Lake has some of the best ice cream in the world. That's what I am a connoisseur of, if you haven't noticed.
Listen, I'm here to help. If you need somebody to ride shotgun with you when you go for ice cream, you just let me know.
Oh, here we go.
Here comes Joe to the inside, and he's going to make that move. Now can he pull away? And look at how quickly he puts 2 car lengths on him. So I think he was just waiting for the right moment.
And turn 10 happened to be that, but Ryan's giving it right back to him. I never thought I would be announcing a race of a pickup truck and a Camry. But look at that around Bishop's Bend. Another great Trans Am car there. And then from my area of the country, Jack Daniels, about an hour outside. I live in Franklin, Tennessee, and they're in Lynchburg, Tennessee. Anytime anybody comes to visit, we take them on a tour of that. It is a great tour and has this barn that you go in that is the best smelling barn you'll ever go in your life.
Oh, I bet. I've never had the chance to do that. I need to come see you, apparently.
He's right behind him.
He is right there with him.
You got to think the draft behind that truck is quite large.
Oh, yeah. Especially in that Xfinity car sitting a lot lower. Let that air go right over the front of it. If you were to see the side shot, we just saw them come past us here in our broadcast booth. He's closing up a little bit, but it was about a full car length when they came by us. The Toyota's starting to get a little looser. The Camry's slinging that back in. There goes the Budweiser machine.
Shannon Ivey, one of my favorite drivers. He used to race Group 6, super well prepared Camaro, and he's moved into the stock cars. There's Frank Markham in that Red Bull car. Frank Markham, good friend of mine. And then the Good Boy Vodka car. I think that's Charles Wicht, the leader in our Group 10 GT4 category. Charles Wicht has been with us many times with IGT, but I think they're preparing for the 12 hours, so they couldn't race in IGT because they're running the Michelins. And so he's here just getting some testing, getting some time. He'll be here, I believe, in the 12 hours of Sebring.
You can see Joe had opened up a pretty good gap. There's that Rusty Wallace Miller Genuine Draft number 2 that he would have drove for Penske Racing. That is a true Rusty car. Stopped by and talked with the guys about that. And I was telling you I was going to tell you a little story about that car. When they debuted that paint scheme, I got asked by Rusty and the crew to go to Rockingham Speedway, North Carolina Motor Speedway there in Rockingham, North Carolina, on a very chilly weekday to shoot a commercial, to be one of the crew guys in the commercial. And the car had a different color to the number 2, the numeral, and to the words Miller Genuine Draft. It was more of a shiny metallic kind of look to the car. Looked fantastic, but they said, yeah, take a picture of it because it'll be the last time you see it. I said, oh, why is that? And they said, well, as we see a change for the lead here, and Gemmill getting by around Joe, and Nemechek now slips back to second. They said they found in the wind tunnel that those brighter, cooler looking stickers were a little bit thicker than what you see on there now, and the airflow is better with what you have on there now. And that's what they went with.
That is crazy. I also mentioned that I'd tell the story about Wolsifer, who's out there in the Chevy Camaro. So we were at Mid-Ohio last year. They release from the grid, and it starts pouring on this slickest track that we run is Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, and it's terrible, absolutely terrible in the rain. And he's out there in a TA2 car and set the record in the rain on slicks, the slowest lap ever at Mid-Ohio, but he came in one piece, which it was one of the most heroic drives I've ever seen in my life. And so hats off to Rick Wolsifer, setting some records in different ways at Mid-Ohio last year.
Saw Mark McCurry on the number 55 Toyota Camry.
That's a beautiful car. There's Alan Davison, FPEC. If you've ever eaten a chicken nugget, that came from FPEC.
Yeah, I was talking to him about that earlier in the weekend. And they have hamburgers a lot too, and quite a few other things. He makes the machines that actually makes
the food processing equipment company. Yeah, they're just in Arkansas, I believe Bentonville, Arkansas.
He also runs a Paynos here as well. Yeah, he's neighbors with Mark Martin.
Oh wow, okay. But look at that now. Gemmel has got a pretty good run on Joe.
He sure does.
Look at that thing bounce through Bishop's
Did you see it picking up the left front?
Yeah. I love having Joe Nemechek in the paddock. Just always a fun person. Loves hanging out with the vintage drivers. Loves telling stories, but then super competitive. You know, I've never seen a professional race car driver like him lose that competitive edge.
No, they're a great family, and we talked about Martha, his mom, earlier, and his dad, of course, and his brother John, and now John Hunter, his son, his wife Andrea. Just a great racing family. Good friends. Love seeing them around town.
Checkered flag is coming out.
And there it is. Checkered flag waves.
I'm sorry, I missed the white flag, ladies and
I
gentlemen.
didn't see it either. And Ryan will take the win over Joe. The Xfinity car beating the truck. And here comes the number 8 of Shannon Ivey. His Budweiser back Chevy Monte Carlo taking third.
There's Wolsifer.
Overall.
Yeah. There's Mercurio. They just bounce, don't they? They just bounce through 17.
Yeah. Great
Race by Jeff Rocco again.
That Glenn Styrie's 87, I'm wondering if that was a Nemechek car too.
Maybe. It was funny, a couple years ago at Indy, we had Joe Nemechek passing the Joe Nemechek car. And I was wondering if that was just weird for him. You know, we had a couple Joe Nemechek cars. We've had Bill Elliott at Road Atlanta with 4 Bill Elliott cars on the track same time. So we had like 9A, 9A, 9AB, 9BC. It was a weird time for the announcers because there were 4 of the exact same looking cars on track. Carlos Gann coming in with that Thunderbird. I just love that car.
That's the era of NASCAR. I think I really like that era. The Chevy Monte Carlos and oh no, Davison off course.
What is that on the back suspension there? You see that?
Back below the fuel cell there?
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure. Don't want to hazard a guess because I'll probably be wrong, and everybody on the internet there will let me know that.
Well, you know what's funny? Jim Barfield, longtime crew chief mechanic with Bill Elliott, is here this weekend, and I put under Scott Borchetta's Bill Elliott car, I put on the right front a camera looking at the wheels, and then he called me and explained to me what I was seeing with the brake rotors and the suspension, and it is amazing, these mechanics, what they know about physics, you know, and the things that they know, because to my uneducated eye, I just saw the brake rotors lighting up, and he was telling me all the things that were wrong with it, and he needs to realign this and do this with that, and it was amazing. It's like I went to school for a second.
Yeah, and you did.
But I didn't understand what he was. I understood the words he was saying, but in that order, it was a foreign language to me.
Sure. All right, well, as the music pots up, we're going to take a quick break here and step away. Mia Lovell from earlier in the day in our TA2 race. We're coming back to Sebring. We got more racing still to come your way.
The WeatherTech's here.
WeatherTech is the ultimate protection for your vehicle. Laser measured floor liners, no drill mud flaps, cargo liner, bump step, seat protector, and cup phone.
What about my car?
WeatherTech.
Hawk Performance packs 100 years of friction dynamics into every product. Backed by Carlisle Brake and Friction, the world's premier innovator of industrial brake and friction components, Hawk leverages R&D tools and motorsports experience to deliver uncompromising performance on the street. There's no reason to settle for less. Choose pads that are race-proven and street legal. Find the Hawk Performance brake dealer near you at hawkperformance.com.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Sebring International Raceway, 3.74 miles, about maybe a foot and a half of elevation. one of the most fun but also rough tracks. You go down the start, the turn Cube 3 architecture's turn 1 into turn 3. That's the Cube 3 section of the track. And then you get off of the old runway onto some asphalt, 15 different surfaces under the bridge, and then a long top gear, long drive into turn 7 down to usually the lowest gear, the second lowest gear in the Mission Foods turn 7. Back through 8 and 9, an unbelievable section that if you get that section wrong, you could lose a whole second and a half. Then to turn 10, 11, 12, 13, the really twisty bits through the tower turns and Bishop's Bend into the Bennett Bridge Hall section of the track. And this is one of the most important sections of the track. You'll see a lot of passing. If you get this section wrong and you don't set yourself up for an almost 3/4 of a mile straightaway into Sunset, into turn 17, one of the roughest sections of the track, back to the lots of fun out there as you see Michelle and Eric Whitnable hosting, giving our Summit $50 to the podium finishers. They can go to Summit, order some parts, and they can get $50 off of the parts that they order with our great partners of Summit Racing. And you see some great shots here of our pickup truck. And then Shannon Ivey. There's DJ Jans, one of the people that I credit with saving the TransAm series and keeping it running. So thank you, DJ, and the brains behind the Young Guns Challenge. We get a great shot looking down here at that front straight, Cube 3 Architecture's turn 1 at Sebring International Raceway, which, as we spoke about, you're looking down the runway for the B-17s and the B-24s, and then this is the purpose-built racetrack part, turn 7, the famous hairpin. There's stories of Sterling Moss asking for a Coke in his race, and one of his crew handed it off to him at the hairpin. He drank it and then gave him back an empty bottle as he's driving in the 12 hours. We do have a lot of spectators here at the Sebring Speed Tour. Speedtour.net for tickets for tomorrow. It is going to be an absolute blast. I was talking to Wayne Estes, the president of Sebring, and this is their second largest spectator event of the year behind the 12 hours. And the staff here at Sebring are absolutely phenomenal to work with. Coming up next, we have the TransAm Series presented by Pirelli qualifying in TA, and then XGT, SGT, and GT. That should be a lot of fun to watch. So stay tuned for that as the TransAm cars, the ground pounders. You can see part of the airport there. Still an active airport, still active runway, but basically we took over half of the runway for the B-17s and B-24s back in World War II. This is our 2025 TransAm Series presented by Pirelli event schedule. You can see the national championship goes to all of the best tracks in North America. I say North America because we do visit Ron Fellows' Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. And what a track and what an event it was. Unbelievable. Maybe one of my favorites from last year. Just some unbelievable fans. We had about 40,000 fans there. So if you have a passport, try to make it up to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. You will not be disappointed as they release the TransAm cars coming on track right now. So the TransAm cars coming on track now. Let me explain the rules of TransAm qualifying. We have these great Pirelli P0s. A TransAm race is 100 miles or 75 minutes, whichever comes first, but they have to run the tires that they qualified on. So everybody's trying to make the fastest lap in the least amount of laps as they can, because Sebring can wear out tires with 15 to 17 different racing surfaces dating back to the early 40s. Some of the surfaces, they want to try to get their fastest lap within lap 3 or 4. So they're going to go out there and warm up the tires as quickly as they can. You'll see some of these teams and competitors almost work together on this first opening lap so that everybody, and they'll space themselves apart in a way that they can get those flyers in. And it's a funny thing to work with your competitors, but that's just what they have to do in this kind of driving.
Well, and you got to have a little bit of respect for your fellow competitor too, right? And make it fair for everybody.
We're seeing there that McNichols of two-time champion Amy Ruman. The fans here at Sebring are some of the most well-educated motorsports fans that we get.
Oh, yeah.
And they do follow the series, and they'll be back here for the 12-hour. It's almost like Green Bay Packer tickets. Like some of these people
They're already
around
lined
here,
up out there. Have you seen them?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Lined up for the 12-hour to get the
been,
best camping spots.
They've had the same spots for 30, 40, 50 years. It's families pass it down to families. It is quite a tradition here at the 12-hour.
And you said you haven't been yet?
No, I've been to the 12-hour.
Oh, you have?
Yep.
Okay.
Really liked
we need
it.
to fix that if you
I
haven't.
believe I came to either the 11 or the 2012.
Okay.
It was the SVRA was hosting a 50 years of MG racing at Sebring, so I couldn't miss that. As an MG fan, I could not miss that.
No. It'd be a good one. Paul Menard at the front. Something he's very accustomed to.
Running that Pittsburgh paints, which is the Menards family of brands, their paints. And a really neat livery. One that I'm not used to seeing him in. You know, all last year he was in that green Menards. I'm a Midwest kid, so I know Menards very well. And then Masood is out there, a driver that has been with us for a long time in TransAm, but missed last year and is back with us. So it's great to have him back out there. Watch out for Brent Cruz in that number 70. But now you're going to start to see these heat up. So right now we've got Paul Menard out there. We've got David Pinteric. So Paul Menard, their first out lap was a 2:27. But now watch for these lap times to drop by about 30 seconds. So we're right on board with Tommy Dreese, Trent Shoring Company, and celebrating 50 years. So Ralph, you know more about this than I do. Walk us through this in-car. So now he's up to 100 miles an hour, approaching turn 10.
Yep, you're seeing on the left brake and throttle, the onboard camera looking at Tommy. Got your RPMs in yellow across the
10.
top.
Now he's going to have to go through the dust, and that's not what you want when you're qualifying, because now you've got all that clag and dust on your tires. He's going to try to get back on the tarmac going counter race, which is never suggested, but this is so important to get this right. And I'm glad that car is loud, because we would be hearing some expletives right now if it wasn't. So this is really going to take him an extra lap now to get all that dust off, and he's probably not going to try to do his flyer until he gets all the dust off of his tires. So I think he's probably added a lap to his qualifying.
And you see his best lap and his last lap, which are the same right now.
Coming through the Bennett Bridge Hole section. But there's Paul Menard, last year's champion in the TA series. And then Chris Dyson now has the time. A 2 flat for Chris Dyson. 2.00.054. Paul Menard is a 2.00632. About a half a second. But look at that. One of my favorites, David Pinteric in that Captain America livery. Oh, Brent Cruz.
Yeah, that's shocking.
TA2 champion.
He's the second quickest for a while here.
Not sure what's happened here. TA2 champion. 2023.
Here's Wally. One of the newest members of the inaugural class of the TransAm Hall of Fame as of last night.
Well deserved. 2-time back-to-back TransAm champion.
And a tip of the visor to his brother Paul, who just got named as an inductee in 2025 into the Pikes Peak Hall of Fame.
Sin of the internet is saying, how is this free? This is amazing. Well, thank you. And we like to, why this is free is because of all of our incredible sponsors and marketing partners like Cube 3, like Pirelli, like Mission Foods, Optima, Jim Weed, Sunoco, Bennett, Bridge Hall. we have so many great marketing partners and sponsors, and big hats off to them. And also the spectators that come here and support these races. It all helps us do these broadcasts. But here we go, Wally Dallenbach. What are you seeing here, Ralph?
Well, one thing Wally told me is that he was really going to take it easy. He's not so worried about qualifying. He didn't. He knew that come race time, he can get his car to run better over a longer distance and be in a position when we get to the end of the race tomorrow.
The true mark of a champion, really, is how do you finish a race. You know, qualifying is qualifying, but it's where do you finish each race that makes a champion. So sometimes a true champion is super ecstatic about finish seventh or eighth because they have a car that they think should have finished 12th. But if they can bring it home in 7th or 8th and really save that, that's great. They like wins, but sometimes the most important races for drivers is when they have an absolute pig and they can still bring it home somewhat near the front.
One of the things I like is seeing Adam Andretti out here because we saw him have that big wreck in the TA2 race. I wasn't sure if he was going to be feeling up to getting in the race car here.
Again, that is a great point. So there's Masoud. His family is going to be watching from the London area and the Middle East. Whenever he's on track with us, we get lit up from there. And there's that ultimate headers of Wally Dallenbach Jr. Kind of a legendary family in racing, the Dallenbachs.
Oh, well, and that was one of the things Wally was talking about with him and his brother both each getting into a Hall of Fame. He's like, you know, my dad, Wally Sr., of course, he goes, he's in every Hall of Fame, as rightly so. He said, so it's pretty, there's Adam dipping a wheel. He said it's pretty cool for the kids to finally see their dads getting in, not just Grandpa. Here's Chris Dyson, and I've been thinking a lot in the weeks leading up to this event. How much do you think Chris Dyson has relived the start here last year?
I would guess he gets
inside of turn one there and
woken up at 4 a.m. with thoughts of that.
Wouldn't you think so? He must have been chomping at the bit to get back here and right what he feels is a wrong in his own mind.
Yeah. I mean, he's had so much success here in 12 hours and in IMSA and in TransAm, but he also is a competitor, and he loves that he has this really stiff competition of the Adam Andretti's and the Paul Menards and the Wally Dallenbach. So I love seeing that. We see the two teammates here with Dreesy Motorsports, Keith Grant and Tommy Dreesy, two very similar looking cars, and there's some gamesmanship behind that. But Paul Menard into the pit, so I think Paul Menard's pretty happy with his lap right now.
Why wouldn't you be with a 157.6?
So can Chris Dyson now put together a flyer and take a 1/10 of a second off of his time, exactly a 1/10 of a second.
Or is the smart move what Menard did, and that's park the car, save those tires.
So much strategy to qualifying. John DeGaynor in that Ron Fellows AER car.
Another Hall of Famer, Ron Fellows.
He's in my Hall of Fame of just being the nicest guy.
Oh, he's a great guy.
Oh, they're sending Paul back out. They're not happy with that.
No.
Huh. They must have made an adjustment. That's not like them. They're sending him back out. So now he's got to do probably 2 more laps. Well, 3 more laps. Because now he's got to do a warm-up lap, a flyer, cool-down lap. Now we're on board with Chris Dyson. Going slow.
I know.
On the back. And that's America, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep. And we're at 1.
In order? Yeah, we are at 1. I think we have the best schedule in road racing. You look at the tracks that we go to.
It's pretty good, buddy. I got to tell you, it is pretty good.
Not a stinker in the bunch.
No.
Paul Menard going out there on his warm-up lap, looking at all of his gauges, seeing how the car feels. It looks like they did make an adjustment to that front left. Not sure what that was. We lost a lot of those mission boards today.
You're going to be busy this afternoon.
I tell you what, though, there's something psychological with that red and yellow that every time I set those up, I want to go have Mexican food.
Now you just made me hungry. I guess I know where I'm going for dinner tonight, right?
And I love Mexican food. I could have it all the time. Because I was talking to Juan one time. I said, we talk about you every Taco Tuesday. And he said, well, you know you're going to have tacos every day.
Yeah. That you can.
Amy Ruman, two-time champion in that McNichol Chevrolet Corvette. She had a great season last year in that Valley Chevrolet. Great to have Valley back on board with that car. Amy Ruman, basically a true privateer team in TransAm. It's her dad, her brother-in-law, her mom that run the Ruman Racing.
One of the Dreesy cars is off here. And that is Tommy, isn't it?
Yeah. Tommy missed a setup. Tommy's crew chief is Gary Seelix, Charlie Seelix's son. And it's funny talking to Gary. Gary said, I can visit my dad. My dad made notebooks of setup for each track. And he visits his dad every day and looks at the notebooks for how his dad would set up for Sebring and the notes. And he talks to him all the time. And I think that's really neat.
That's very cool. Share that experience.
And Gary's son is on the crew also.
Oh, that's
It's
great.
like 3 generations. Something
Charlie
has happened
could set
on
up a
track.
race car, couldn't he?
Yeah, but something has happened. Like there must be a lot of dust or debris or something's happening. Paul Menard still at 157.629. Dyson a tenth of a second behind him. But they're going slower than normal here. Are they coming into the pits? They must be.
Looks like it.
Yeah, they're coming into the pits. Okay. Some great drone shots. That is a daring drone pilot that we have here. Oh, is he going to go under the bridge?
Oh, yeah. And
All right.
obviously he's not in the drone, but he is doing it with VR goggles. I don't know where they stationed him. I heard they were going to station him off the backside of the front straightaway tower here. And
it's pretty incredible.
yeah, what those kids do with those things are amazing.
Yeah. I do like the look of that top liner. Burton Racing Camaro there of Adam Andretti. Claudio Burton, I call him like a mad scientist. It's crazy what he was coming up with. Chrome Moly from Germany, wanted a very rigid car, kind of a new approach to a TA car. Amy Ruman, two-time champion. I believe she's in the oldest chassis in the bunch.
Yeah, and I was going to say, you know, that vet has got some legs and laps on it, but boy, it's still strong, isn't it?
Yeah, very strong, and she is quite the competitor. But I tell you who I wouldn't mess with in the paddock, her mom. She is quite a competitor. I'll come up to her sometimes in the pits to ask her a question, and I can tell she's angry, and I just try to politely walk away. One of the greatest people in the paddock. I absolutely love the Ruman family, but she is a competitor. Trent Shoring is a new sponsor with Tommy Dreesy. And for those of you that don't know, Tommy Dreesy, if you've ever been to a movie theater in the last 20 years and you see the upcoming attractions and the big cardboard cutouts and the 3D displays, that all comes from Dreesy Advertising.
Sure does. Been doing it for years.
Then there's that Ron Fellows car, the true oldest chassis in the field. But Ruman's not too far behind. But that's John DeGainer out there running that in our kind of heritage class. We saw him in that Devon Evolution in Group 6. That's a mean-looking car, that Camaro.
Mm-hmm.
So Wally Dallenbach, two-time Trans Am champion, absolute legend, great commentator. We were talking at Mid-Ohio. My son was with me, and I told my son, who doesn't follow motorsports, but he has watched Ricky Bobby and loves it. And I was like, he's the commentator in Ricky Bobby. And then all of a sudden my son's eyes just lit up. It's like, whoa, that's amazing. And Wally just looked at me like, oh, come on now.
Yeah. Wally and I spent a lot of years doing NASCAR races together on TNT.
And I used to watch them in TransAm on TNN, the Nashville network.
I
Remember
used
that?
to be on there.
Yeah.
The earliest parts of my career was on TNN.
Yeah, and I was watching it. I grew up in TransAm in the Tommy Kendall, Boris said that era. When were you doing TransAm?
Well, let's see. Started doing TransAm on radio in probably 85, 86.
And isn't it interesting that it's all the same people in the paddock?
For the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot. I saw a lot of them here. Wally would have been there. Darren Brassfield was around then, you know. So Celix's, yep.
Yeah,
absolutely.
and then Kerry Hitt,
Yeah.
people like that. Yeah, it's amazing.
So a lot of the same people. Well, while they take some slow laps and some downtime in the paddock and the pits, we'll go ahead and take a quick break, and we'll be right back for more here at Sebring.
You've got a business to run, big and heavy products to ship, and customers who need them now. When you've got the right driver and the right equipment, you can bet on a spectacular result. Bennett understands complex logistics and puts the best team, the most time, and the latest technology into every customer relationship, so you can sit back, relax, and enjoy the race. Let us handle the rest.
Together, we can move anything.
Yeah, well, ladies and gentlemen, totally my fault, but we have some comments here. They want the results, so we're going to give you the results. Paul Menard this is provisional, qualified first with a 157.629. Chris Dyson second with a 157.729. So just a tenth of a second between the leaders. Adam Andretti with a 158.624. Tommy Dreese, 158.977. Now, I think the impressive one was Brent Cruz with a 2.189, because I think he coasted from basically about 500 yards in front of the start-finish line to end up where he was. So he probably would have done quite a bit better and only got in the one flyer. And so that is our top, and I don't have the results anymore because it switched over because we're at the GT classes. So sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Totally my fault. But we're going to the GT of Extreme GT. So Danny Lowry of Bridge Hull and Bennett. And then Billy Griffin is out there in an XGT. Both of those are in Mercedes. Then Kaylee Bryson, our SGT champion from last year, absolutely phenomenal driver, and now she's moved up to XGT, but in the same car. So I had to ask her what that means. So basically, they took out some restriction, took out some weight, might have added some downforce to that car to make it XGT, but yesterday she was saying she was about 7 to 8 seconds a lap faster going from SGT setup to an XGT setup, and I was pretty surprised by that. Then we have Paul Tracy, PT, in a new XGT car.
The newly married Paul Tracy.
Newly married? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he got married this past week. He's been on his honeymoon, him and his beautiful wife Lisa. Congratulations to both of them. Great to see the Lovebirds having a great time, and then coming here to continue the honeymoon at the racetrack.
I gotta tell you, Paul Tracy looks like he is ready to compete.
Oh, he's really gotten himself back in shape. He works very hard at it. Rides lots of miles on his bicycle. Works hard.
Mustafa Bakir is an XGT. Josh Carlson did really well with us in SGT last year, is back with us. Lee Saunders in an SGT Viper. Patrick Utt is with us in a TA2 SGT. And then Chris Coffey, our GT champion from last year. And Colin Cohen. And then new to the TransAm series is Mike Fitzpatrick in a GT Aston Martin. Absolutely beautiful car. There's that Paul Tracy car.
Yeah, the black with the white.
To me, it looked like a mini Camaro. I saw it at VIR. I know that's probably not right to say. It's an IRC car, and I'm going to talk to Paul about that tomorrow.
It is an IRC car, and I went over there and spoke with the guys about it a little bit. Basically, it's a simplified Australian supercar, V8 supercar series. They've basically simplified the car from that, and the guy who's designed it and everything spent all his time in V8 supercar, so he went in that direction, and it's been a very fast and they say very reliable race car.
Well, yeah, fast. Look at that. Paul Tracy just already trying to go out on his flyer. Some really cool images here. So you can see there Chris Coffey just weaving back and forth. Colin Cohen following him, both from the Dallas, Texas area. Traffic graphics wrap on that Maserati. Now his Maserati doesn't go 185 like Joe Walsh's does.
Huh. Probably the most asked question Joe Walsh gets, right?
I bet.
Does your Maserati really go 185?
Colin Cohen, great competitor. Patrick Utt lighting him up. You don't want to do that on brand new tires. Patrick Utt started SafeQuip and recently sold that to Holly, and he's like, now I'm a race car driver. Just living the dream. So I love that for him.
That's a great story. I'd like to have my story go like that.
Yeah, it's great.
Shaheen
but couldn't happen to a better guy.
Now look at what he's doing. Yeah.
So Paul Tracy there out front. Beautiful looking car. I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to have Paul Tracy back in the Trans Am series.
Yeah, and we'll see for how long. The team doesn't necessarily plan right now to do the whole season, but they said, we get through Road Atlanta and things are looking a little better. You never know.
These cars are for sale. They're trying to kind of get a series going over here, but if you look at the car, like I said, it was at VIR with us to go through tech to see if it could run in Trans Am. And the formula that they've come up with looks like a really great formula for a really fun race car.
Yeah, and like you said, it looks kind of like a Camaro from the front. Mm-hmm. From the side, it's got a little Ford Mustang, too.
Yeah. There's Kaylee Bryson. Now, I'm not used to seeing Lee Saunders in this Viper. He's been racing a red with a black stripe, more street Viper. What do they call these race-prepared Vipers? Are they RCR something?
ACR.
ACR, yeah. I haven't seen him in the ACR Viper, and there's Patrick Utt in the TA2 car. But racing SGT. Look at the wing on that. Danny Lowry races with us, and he's got this hula girl. You'll see the in-car that goes back and forth, and he says he uses it as his telemetry gauge. If she's way over there, you know, and she's moving around, and it's really fun to watch. All right, so now they should be setting up for their flyers. Paul Tracy doing a 207.9. Bryson 208.5. Bryson's in some traffic. You want to give a little bit more room. Actually, no, it's pretty good room there because she might be getting a little bit of the wind there. There's Fitzpatrick in that Aston Martin. As a British car guy, I just have to love that 89X. And they have an arrive and drive program here at Sebring where he says he has 4 of these ready to run in TransAm, 2 in XGT2, or 2 in SGT2 and GT. And if you want to rent a race car and come out and race TransAm, look at 89X. But new to the TransAm series. Those Maseratis sound really great.
They sure do, don't they?
See if the times come down. Look to your top left. See if the times come down here. Yep.
Tracy knocks 2 seconds off, but not as quick as Griffin.
So Billy Griffin, a multi-time GT class champion in TransAm, in the car that we saw John Strauss out there with in our Group 12. And then yet last year he moved up to a TA car, and he just was never happy with it. So at VIR, Danny Lowry said, come run one of my Mercedes. And he absolutely fell in love with it, so now he's in the Mercedes. And a very good driver. And not somebody you want to mess with when you see him.
No.
Yeah. And Kaylee Bryson, I always joke, every time she comes to the racetrack, and she races in everything, and she has broken the glass ceiling in just about every style of motorsports she runs in, but she's a big fisherman. And so you'll see her walk through the paddock or drive around the golf cart with her fishing poles, and after her session, she's going to go find some fish near the track.
There you go.
She is from Oklahoma, part of our scholarship program with Perel. With that Aaron Pierce Corvette set up last year. That same car was SGT. But you can see that rear diffuser. You can see some of the ground effects on the car to push it up to XGT.
Yeah.
But took out the restriction. They might have removed some weight. But here comes PT. We need to get PT in the booth with us sometime.
I've had Paul with me on different things. He's always fun in the booth.
I always liked Paul with IndyCar because I felt like I wasn't getting the political stance. I was getting his honest opinion. He was not a political person.
You're always going to get the honest opinion from Paul Tracy. You might not like what he has to say, and a lot of people don't, but you are definitely going to get his honest opinion out of it.
Man, that is a cool-looking car.
I got to know Paul when he was starting off in Formula Atlantic way, way, way back when.
He's Canadian, is that correct?
And sponsor on the car was Sherwin-Williams. Do you know why?
Paint?
Yeah, but do you know why? So Paul's dad had the painting contract, you ready for this? For the CN Tower in Toronto. So he called up Sherwin-Williams and said, hey, got to paint this little building over here. And I'm
the most famous building.
I'm more than happy to use your paint, but here's what you got to do. You got to sponsor my kid's race car over here. So that's why for years Paul had Sherwin-Williams on his race car.
That is awesome. The CN Tower would probably take a few gallons of paint.
Yeah, there's a couple up there.
Lee Saunders, many-time SGT champion. That stands for Super GT. I love those Mercedes. And new for
Based
this,
on a C6.
Yeah. New for this year, we have these new color boards that go across to kind of delineate which class. It makes it a little bit easier for the spotters. So the gray is the GT, green is XGT. What do you mean the C6? The Corvette? Okay, yeah.
C6 body.
Yeah. So the producers are asking me the difference between, well, TA are no driver assist, 900-ish horsepower monsters with no driver aids. Basically, we call it 900 horsepower go-karts. It's all up to the driver. Way too much power, really. It's very fun cars to drive. I've talked to Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR drivers. Everybody wants a couple laps in a TA car because it's the last true just driver car with too much power.
Oh.
So we see Kaylee spin. XGT is we aren't allowed to call things like GT3, GT4, so they fall in line with that. So the Extreme GT is basically everything you can throw at a production car. Then a little bit scaled back is the Super GT, and then GT is basically factory built, like you're seeing here, race cars with a wing, but you can't really do much to modify what came from the factory. Is the best I can do to explain it without getting myself in trouble. I'm seeing from John Phippen that Lynn St. James did the driver start command. John Phippen, Mid-Ohio announcer, the announcer for our FRF4. John Phippen, great to see you here joining us. Thank you so much for joining us, and can't wait to work with you at NOLA. We'll be at NOLA here pretty soon for the NOLA Speed Tour and the first event of FRF4. I love NOLA.
Yeah, NOLA's great.
Love the staff there, too. David Pace does a great job there with us, and just love the look of this Aston Martin. That is a mean-looking car. Patrick Hutt coming into Mission Foods in number 49. Let's see what kind of times we've got here. Paul Tracy at 2:02. So just 2.5 seconds behind the TA cars. That XGT car's a little crazy. I was not expecting that.
Well,
2.5. I mean, he's going to be running up there with the TransAm cars, and we don't do a split start.
There was a time in auto racing where Paul Tracy was arguably, certainly in the top 10, maybe top 5 of drivers around the world. I mean, he was an excellent, excellent race car driver. So the skill set is without a doubt there. And put him in the right car. I mean, the guy almost won the Indy 500, depending on how depending on how you look at it. He did or didn't win, right?
If you want him to be nice to you, he won the race.
No, he'll tell you.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily disagree.
He won our VROC race at Indy in a SVRA, and he held up 2 fingers.
Second win.
For the second win at Indy.
That's classic PT.
But you know what's funny? He raced for Roger Penske, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
An IndyCar. I definitely would put Rick Mears with Roger Penske, or a Joseph Newgarden with their personalities, or a Mark Donohue. But not a Paul Tracy. That was an odd one for me.
But don't forget, Mr. Penske also put Kurt Busch in a car.
That's true,
for quite a few years.
Yeah.
And Kurt and Paul, very similar in their what do they call A personality?
Yeah, but they're not what you would call Penske perfect personalities.
That's what I mean. Yeah, no, they're not. But here's Paul, door open. No, they're not. They don't fit the traditional Penske mold the way a Rick Mears did.
Yeah.
Or Emerson Fittipaldi.
Now, who was in the Porsche? That's the first time we've seen this. That's Mustafa Bakir in the GT, who will be here, I think, with the 12 hours that was out in our Group 10 class.
Here's the
great to have him. Another Carroll Shelby car iteration. He went from Cobras to Vipers. What's his fascination with snakes?
Well, when you live in
that's
that
true.
part of Texas, you see a lot of them, right?
When you're a chicken farmer in Texas.
You and I are both looking out the window, and is that a Model A?
Model T. That's the Depot Model T. I had a 1927 Model T Depot. That was just the hood, and then you could build whatever you wanted out of wood.
And you can have it in any color you want as long as
Yeah,
it's
as long
black.
as it's black. There's that Aston Martin. Paul Tracy, I can't believe those times. That's going to make some TA drivers upset.
That's going to make him very happy, though, right?
It's going to sell some of those cars.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, Paul Tracy's at the top of the board. We're going to take a quick step away here, take care of some business on our end, and we'll be back with more racing action. And we actually have a couple of races left to go here today as we wind down the afternoon here at the 2025 Sebring SpeedTour season opener.
How good is this? Look at this view from Losowski.
It brings all my fans, it brings the audience into the car with me.
We turn 140-mile-an-hour entry speeds.
The quickest and most efficient way for me to get information to my drivers is from using the VBox HD2 system.
Kind of surprising things, and oh, he rockets by Sima. There's Forrest said.
One of the ways you overtake here at Sebring is really good in the braking zone, like this one right here.
Both go around. There's the green. We are back and at it. Watch this. Oh, look out, Miller, look out.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Sebring SpeedTour. I was just telling Ralph, this is my favorite group, the small bore production
Try
cars.
to control yourself over here.
1, 3, 4, and 5B. But then we also have kind of that mid-range of Group 8 and 12B. So I'm going to start at the top. Travis Engen at beautiful 5B, Lotus 23B. Then the new CEO of SpeedTour, Lee Giannone, in that Porsche 911 Group 8 NC. Gregory Safarian in that Group 12 MP1 and that Alfa Romeo GTV6. Alex Moya in a Datsun 510. Steve Yarborough in that Devon 295. Bill Skillman in a Porsche 911. Benny Bish, what a great name, in that BMW 2002. Sean Murphy in a 2002 at starting 9th. Gene Goodall in a Lotus 7 S2. Alan Schammer, our champion, in that Mazda MX-5. Tom Brown in that Triumph Spitfire. Love that car. Steve Lipsky in a Datsun 240Z. Greg Schaefer in a 510 Datsun. Timothy Scopes in a beautiful wire wheel Lotus 11. If you ever show up to the racetrack with wire wheels, you have my attention. William Jones in that Fiat Abarth 1300cc rear engine. James Hermiston in the Triumph Spitfire Group 1 car. Russell Jones in a Group 1 car. Alfa Romeo GTV. And I wasn't kidding. Lee Giannone is out there, I think, in the... Well, he's not out there. Shoot, I was hoping to see the new CEO of SpeedTour out there, but he might have some business to attend to here.
Yeah.
But I love these cars. Some of these cars would have raced in the TransAm series, the 2.5 TransAm series here. Look at that little Fiat Abarth. So if you think all cars in modern racing look the same, look here. Here's every different approach. You've got air-cooled rear engine, rear-wheel drive. Oh, there he is. There's our CEO. In that starting at the back, he might have gotten to talking to somebody and was late to grid, or he might be out there just to have some fun. So look for Lee Giannone to move up through in that Porsche 911. But all different ways. So you've got the Colin Chapman add lightness of that Lotus 23B and the Lotus 7. Then you have Alfa Romeos out there. You've got the BMWs with the rear-wheel drive, front engine. You've got
the rolling box of a 510.
Yeah, the brick. And then, but I love 510s.
Oh, yeah.
Then the B sedan of the sexy lines of the Italian Alfa Romeos, where they try to make everything look good. You've got a Mazda Miata out there. There's a couple cars out there where the Japanese took the British design and made it reliable. So they took an MG BGT and made it a Datsun 240. They took the Lotus Elan and made it a Mazda Miata. All different approaches to how to design a car.
And there's a 240 right there in yellow and blue.
Cars in this group. Now pressure's on, Lee Giannone. You're the new CEO of SpeedTour, coming from the back. You got to make it to the front without touching anybody else. Take us to that green, Ralph.
All right, here we come. Highlight of the day for Ben.
Yeah.
Green flag waves, and we're underway here at Sebring. Feeling fanning out. And it's going to be the Little Lotus jumping out in front of the 23B, Travis Engen.
Which is expected. Lee Giannone's already passed 2 cars here. Love that British Spitfire. If you know anything about British cars, you know they're not the most reliable. So Triumph did us a favor and said you can open up the hood in the front. You can sit on the tires while you're working on the car. And I appreciate that about Triumph. Schammer there in that Miata.
So you said this is your favorite series.
My favorite group.
Your favorite group,
yeah.
And you said, yeah, because I love the cars. But what is it about these cars that hooked you?
I've just always loved British cars. So my shop teacher in high school, Mr. Homan, we would buy an old British sports car, a Morris Minor, Mini Cooper, MGA, MGB for about $10 or $15, and then we'd spend the semester fixing it, and then he'd sell it for about $10,000. And so I just kind of learned everything about them through that and just had a blast with it. And I've just always loved their design, and I'm a tinkerer, and if you like tinkering, you're going to love a British car.
Yeah, you're going to be getting some.
My wife gets so mad at me
on a regular basis.
We'll put the MG or something to Triumph in the garage. It ran flawlessly. Then she's like, "Let's go get some ice cream," and it won't start. But there's Travis Engen in that beautiful 23B that just destroyed everything in its class back in the day. And he was telling me a story here at Sebring last year. 4 lug nuts on the front, 6 lug nuts on the rear, and that's how the FIA was able to outlaw them, because in that era of Le Mans, you had to run a spare tire. And they ruled that it wasn't a spare tire for all 4 wheels.
All 4 corners, yeah.
And they outlawed them. Just like the FIA and the French like to do. There's that Alfa Romeo. Another beautiful car, but I love the Datsun 510. I love John Morton.
Well, that's it. Get that red, white, and blue BRE, and John's such a likable guy.
When you go out west with us, there's now the Hoosier Tire 2.5 Challenge. We'll have maybe 40 or 50 B sedans battling it out. So you've got Volvos, Cortinas, the Datsuns, the Alphas, and the BMWs, and it is so much fun to watch. Some of the best racing you'll see all weekend. Travis Engen's a little lonely. Doc Bundy, not Doc Brown, that's Back to the Future. Doc Bundy was racing with us with Ragogo, and they would have a great battle, both in Lotus 23Bs.
Doc's quite the wheelman, isn't he?
Oh, yeah. He had 4 pedals in his 23, so he had gas, brake, clutch.
Huh. Remember when he was running that Lotus?
Uh-oh, here we go.
Here comes the Z car. Boy, if you happen to have one of those laying around these days in good shape, you can do some damage at the auctions.
Yeah. So I live in Franklin, Tennessee, where Nissan moved their headquarters for this side of the world. And they did a program where I think something like if you work for Nissan and you have an old Datsun 240, 510, anything like that from that era, they'll pay for half of your labor or parts for restoring it.
Oh, wow.
So that's pretty neat. Look at this Lotus 7. Totally different approach to racing here. Almost an open wheel car.
It's supposed to have green fenders, though, isn't it?
Yeah, green and yellow. So that's Safarian.
Looking at the Alpha there, and you pointed out the Italians tried to make another beautiful car. How many do you think they got wrong? I mean, can you think of a truly ugly Italian race car? Not many.
I don't know. Yeah. Those early days when Enzo worked for Alfa Romeo and then went to Ferrari, those are some of the prettiest cars ever made.
Well, you would be hard-pressed to find a prettier car for racing than a 250 GTO.
63?
Just
yeah. I think it's maybe
drop dead.
That'd be in my Mount Rushmore of prettiest cars ever made.
Yeah, and the P4, like the one we saw here, go right alongside of it, right? Two different styles of race car, but still.
Yeah. But those Triumph Spitfires are fun little cars. So America has the Mustangs and the British have the Spitfires. And now, to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of these 80s kind of era Italian cars.
No, but
back,
it's not bad looking.
In an 80s car, that was still much better looking than some of the other 80s cars.
Yes.
Back when, you know, the oil crisis happened in the 60s or the 70s and totally destroyed cars in the 80s.
Yeah.
But look at this. This is the battle for overall second and third. But that's a Group 12 car followed by a Group 8 car. But it doesn't matter. If you're on track with somebody, you want to get around them.
That's right.
So Moya is in the Datsun 510. Uh-oh, he's having problems.
Yeah,
you can see that rear suspension there.
Left rear didn't look exactly right, did it?
And the Spitfires are known for that. But look at the balance of that 23B. It looks effortless. And if you watch Travis's hands, it's unbelievable. But there's Lee in that Group 8 Porsche. Would that be considered the whale tail?
That's a ducktail.
Okay, the ducktail, yeah.
That's a ducktail. The whale tail is the much bigger one you see on a 911 Turbo.
Yeah, it almost looks like a tabletop.
Yes.
But, you know, we talk about this a lot. From the 356 to the Porsche now. So, what, 70 years of Porsche. They really haven't changed their lines.
The basic lines of the car are identical all the way through every generation.
It's crazy.
But what did change, as we talked about earlier, is the size.
And the width, and
If you parked a 70s 911 next to a 2020 911, you could almost put two of the 70s cars side by side and be about the same width.
What's so funny to me, looking at that Datsun 510, those were marketed as a family of 4 or 5 car.
Oh, yeah.
You could never do that today.
No.
Travis Engen and that Lotus 23B, just a beautiful car.
I was going to say, if you built a car like the 510, just that complete brick box shape, I don't know if you'd be able to sell any, but then I was thinking about the Cybertruck, and there is no question about, well, there's a lot of questions about taste, I guess, at times.
Look at that, though. I love when form and function meet. That's kind of that era of British cars, like the C-Type, the D-Type, the Lotus 11, where all the hand-pounded aluminum sheeting goes over to the tires where it needs to go, and there's no wasted energy on anything.
Craftsmen working on the cars, shaping them.
So to me, like looking at a Lotus 11 and getting to come to our paddocks at Speed Tour events, getting to talk to the drivers, getting to touch the cars, sit in the cars, it'd be the same as going to a museum and touching a Monet. You know, you don't get to do that.
No.
But here, you get to come and sit and touch the cars and look at them, and it's really neat to talk to the drivers.
Please ask the team before you go touch it.
Yeah. Right. But, you know, usually they'll let you come and sit in the cars or anything like that. But look at that. Not only are they wire wheels, but I was talking to Brian McEachran, who did tell me that is a Coventry Climax engine in that, but it's the least amount of wires you can get on wire wheels.
Always
and after he breaks one, they'll go, yeah. So like a Ferrari would have Barani wheels that have just wires everywhere. But yeah, Colin Chapman, famous for saying adding lightness.
Oh boy, hang on,
Lee.
boss.
There you go.
Getting a little crossed up there.
That Datsun 240 just ahead of Lee. Always a great car. My parents had a 240 after they got married.
I had a 300.
I did too. I love the 300.
It was a great car.
So we were talking to one of the drivers, and I can't remember which, in the spit. Oh, yeah, but look, see the rear suspension, it's gone out again?
Yeah.
And that's, my TR6 did that. My Spitfires have done that. But not my TR4, because it didn't have the independent rear suspension. But I forget what I was talking about because I get so distracted by these cars. Sorry, I'm all over the place. But there is that Alpha, just a beautiful B sedan car. But that's the Group 1 Alpha, so it's got a very small displacement. You can run basically that same body style in our Group 3 and Group 8, all based on what kind of engine it has.
Smooth Saturday afternoon cruise so far for Engen.
Yeah. About to come up on lap traffic.
Yeah, he is. Only got a couple laps remaining here.
And like I was saying before, it's not uncommon to see Travis Engen in 4 different cars, completely different cars throughout the weekend. So he's got this Lotus 23B, the Audi R8, the number 2 LMP car. Then he's got a beautiful Chevron Formula B. Formula Bs are by far my favorite open-wheel cars. And then he's also got an Indy Lights car. And he's good in all of them.
Well,
and sometimes he goes from one to the other, and I've always wondered if that was a big adjustment. He said, no, once you get the feel of it, they're all the same.
Well, he certainly dominates in the Audi and in the Lotus. He was checked out and gone in the Audi earlier today.
Yeah. I got a question from the producers. Do these cars try to remain stock as much as they can? It basically depends on the class and the driver. Some people try to, like that BMW, that looks like that is made for exactly how BMWs ran in the Trans Am series in the 70s. Some people will just keep upgrading and designing the cars or working on the cars, and it just depends on the driver, and it also depends on the rules package that they're trying to adhere to. So like in Group 6, we have a TA class, which means you have to build a car to the TransAm specs of that time. And then we've got ways to kind of modernize these vintage cars. So it basically just depends on the driver, the team, the owner. Cars like a Triumph Spitfire that aren't that expensive or anything like that. There's some little modifications that you can do, but you can't really, to the rules, you couldn't put a 5-speed in it. You couldn't take a Triumph Spitfire and put a modern Honda S2000 engine in it. You have to stay to what came with the car, but you could put like rolling rockers in it or things that would kind of help maintain the car for longer. Or like a dry sump system, things like that. But man, I don't know. It's what we talked about before. Do I like a Datsun 510 because I like the car, or because I knew that they absolutely dominated in racing and by total accident, like a Mini Cooper was a total accident? Mm-hmm. And that's why I like it. I don't know. But we were talking about the Tesla Cybertruck. I do not like that.
Nope. No offense to Elon or anybody that owns one, but I just can't get my head around it.
I'm fine with offending them. I don't like that car. And if you do, that's great. I like that. There are tons of cars that I like that other people are like, you're crazy for liking that. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about electric race cars. When they
I can tell you how I feel about it.
How's that?
I hate it.
Do you?
Plain and simple.
I've watched that Formula E thing.
I've done those.
I realize if you watch it in mute, it's watchable.
Well,
but if you don't mute, if you listen to it, it's not watchable.
I've called Formula E races,
really?
Quite a few of them, and I will tell you that yes, the competition can be very good. There's a lot of top-name drivers competing in Formula E. Since they've gone to being able to utilize one battery to go the full distance now, it's gotten better. But when you're at the event and there's no sound, all you hear is tire squeal and some mechanical noise, but no engine noise, it takes a big chunk of the thrill of racing out of it for me.
Sean Murphy in that beautiful BMW 2002. I've had E30s. I like those, but I've always wanted a 2002. Just love the 2002. And look at this. 2 Italian cars going side by side in the Mission Foods Turn 7.
When you're in that little Fiat, even the 510 looks big, right?
I was looking at that Fiat. So it's a 1300cc with 2 huge Weber-looking 45s on it. Sounds like the displacement of the carburetor is probably equal to the displacement of the cylinders.
Yeah, probably.
And the Lotus 7, the knuckle dragger of the British cars. The TR3 and the Lotus 7. Tiny little cars. And that's almost a flat car.
Yeah.
Tom Pank's joining us in the booth. We'll be calling the IGT race. But Tom Pank, I know that you run the modern like 993s and things like that, but still kind of reflects the body style of these vintage 911s. Do you appreciate the vintage 911s?
Absolutely. Those are classics.
And really totally dominant in their days.
Is an evolution upon evolution upon evolution from the early 60s to today.
Yeah, I've often wondered, we were just talking about that, they went from the 356 and have kind of kept the same lines. So what if Mustang and Camaro, like what if they never made the Mustang 2 and they stayed true to those kind of original lines when they went back to it in 2005? Because the Mustang 2 was pretty awful,
I kind of agree with that. I'm not such a fan of Mustangs, so I got to be careful what I say.
No, you don't.
But the Mini Coopers, they're awesome. I have some of the old ones and the new ones.
I saw you tooling around a little soft-top Mini Cooper, yeah. But again, you look at a Mini Cooper, a modern Mini Cooper, BMW Mini Cooper, they look like small cars. Then you put an old Mini Cooper next to it, and they look giant.
It's tiny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That old Mini Cooper is truly, that's actually a classic.
Mm-hmm.
No two ways about it. And they're worth a lot of money now.
Yeah.
Not like a Porsche of the vintage, but
White flag is out. I had a 67 Mini Cooper S, and every time I got out of the gas station, everybody get out of the car to put gas in. Everybody's like, "Whoa, what is?" I would drive my dad's brand new C6 Corvette. Nobody asked me about it, but a Mini Cooper that cost me less than $10,000, I'll get more asked about that. Is that thing street legal?
I have one that I'm going to put the Honda in it.
Oh, nice, yeah.
And then I'll bring that to the track just for a get-around car for fun.
Which, the 18B or the K20?
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah, that's a fun car.
Yep.
So basically, you get a British car that's reliable.
Yeah. Is that still possible?
White flag is out, ladies and gentlemen. Travis Engen, then followed by Safarian, Moya, Goodall, LaRue, Skillman, Schamer in that Miata, and Benny Bish, another great racing name, as Travis Engen comes to take the checker flag one more turn.
Travis is incredible.
He is incredible. Travis Engen is my hero.
He's like in his 83, 84 years old.
I'm not sure.
Oh, he's up there. And he has
but in better shape than I am.
That Audi R8 prototype that he runs, he has driven that car for over 80,000 kilometers. This is after it was run in Le Mans and everywhere else.
All right, Ralph, bring us home.
Well, here he comes off of the final corner here at Sebring. Checkered flag awaits. There it is. And Travis wins another one here today.
He has a closet of SVRA red hats.
Oh, I bet he does.
What's hanging off the bottom of that Alpha?
Yeah.
Is that the headers? Looks like we got rookie stripes on that Lotus 7.
Yeah.
Real bright ones, huh?
The BS is not what you think on a Datsun 510. That stands for B sedan.
Right.
So Mustangs, Camaros are A sedan, and then Mini Coopers, Volkswagen Beetles are C sedan.
Here comes the Alpha.
I don't know about this Alpha. What kind of displacement would that be?
It looks like about 800 cc.
What's on the bottom of that beautiful Alpha?
It does look like he's dragging something.
Yeah. Is he Flintstoning it? Is that his feet dragging?
Yeah. But I don't see sparks, but he's got something down there. Probably an exhaust.
There's our winner, Travis Engen, with that Red Bull helmet with GMT Racing. That just always looks like such a well-balanced car. And really, balance is everything to Lotus. They kind of design cars around balance. Speaking of, look at that Lotus 11. Wire wheels on that Lotus 11.
Wow. Here comes the Beamer up the inside.
That's an old Beamer.
Ooh, wee. Come on, Schamer. Let's see what the Miata can do. Side by side.
Making a move up the inside. And at the line,
Miata got him.
The Mazda takes the win.
Way to go, Schamer. So my hero of this race, though, is that Lotus 11. Just such a beautiful car. I got to call that driver out again because I love that he brings that out. We don't get to see cars like that because they've gone up. Timothy Scope so much in value. Just hand-hammered aluminum over like a bird cage with wire wheels. Just such a pretty car. Actually, Tony Perella's favorite car is the Lotus 11. Never think that.
Well, he can buy a couple of them now.
So Travis Engen, Gregory Safarian, Alex Moya, Gene Goodall, Mia LaRue, Bill Skillman, Alan Schamer, Benny Bish, Steve Lipsky, and Sean Murphy. That is our top 10. Sean Murphy in that 65 BMW 2002, number 65. Up next, International GT, and I'm planning on it being a better race than this morning's.
It's the final race of the day, right?
I believe so. For us it is.
We
got
a few changes.
Optimal Ultimate Street Car after that, but that's not being live streamed.
From the starting lineup, we now have David Twatty in the start. And in the Lamborghini Huracan, we will have Seth Henry. This morning you saw his coach, Wyatt Foster. And in the number 30 car, came in 3.8, we will have Eric Zitza instead of Spencer Proper. And John DeAngelis will not be starting the race.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, International GT on the other side of this break. Stay tuned.
the WeatherTech's here.
WeatherTech is the ultimate protection for your vehicle. Laser-measured floor liners, no-drill mud flaps, cargo liner, bump step, seat protector, and cup phone.
What about my car?
WeatherTech.
Hawk Performance packs 100 years of friction dynamics into every product. Backed by Carlisle Brake and Friction, the world's premier innovator of industrial brake and friction components, Hawk leverages R&D tools and motorsports experience to deliver uncompromising performance on the street. There's no reason to settle for less. Choose pads that are race-proven and street-legal. Find the Hawk Performance brake dealer near you at hawkperformance.com.
All right, welcome back to Sebring. Ralph Shaheen, Ben Sissel, and Tom Pank with you as we get ready to go here today with the final race of the afternoon for Saturday. Full day on Sunday yet to go, Ben.
Oh, yeah. And tomorrow the TA race is going to be great, the SVRA races, and I believe we're broadcasting the Enduro. So do you think you're going to split time with Lucas Pank, Tom?
I am not. The boy is going to earn it himself. I'm going to let him have his fun. He needs the experience, and I don't want to take anything away from him.
If I were to translate that, would that be that Tom can't fit in Lucas's seat?
No, we can slide it back.
Okay. So let's go.
It might be a little too narrow, but
okay. Yeah,
those aren't the reasons.
David Tuati out front, and then Lucas Pank. And so if you feel like our color commentator of Thomas Pank is maybe a little bit favoriting Lucas Pank, it's because that is his son. Both of Tom Pank's sons have raced with us in International GT, and both do really, really well. Then Chris Lee starting third, Michael Merritt fourth, Russell Farhang is fifth, William Oliver sixth, Tillman Schmid is seventh in that 277. Seth Henry is actually going to be out there this time in that Lamborghini Super Trofeo that's running in exhibition class. Nicholas Groombridge, who's been a long-time competitor with IGT, great to have him here. Mark Calzaretta is in a Porsche Cayman, so the first of our Stuttgart Cup, starting 10th. So Mark Calzaretta way up there. Luca Mars, Mark Julian, Nicholas Carangellin, Robert Wyson, Mark Sandridge is back out there in another car. Thomas Kirk, Stephen Thomas, Richard Walker starting 18th, Mark Cook 19th, Spencer Proper 20th, Peter Craig 21st. His daughter was joining us on the broadcast last time. Ari Strauss and John DeAngelis. But Tom Pank, these are all your friends and competitors. Tell us what you know.
Well, this is going to be a great race. I mean, it's our first weekend out, and it's in the afternoon. We've had a race yesterday afternoon after qualifying, and a race already this morning. I think it's going to be a good race. They've settled in a little bit. Some of the preseason or early season jitters have already faded out. We had a little bit of an incident this morning. Hopefully we'll have a clean, nice, enjoyable event.
David Tuati's here by himself. Usually sometimes he's brought fields of 6, 7 cars with him. But does anybody bring the party better than David Tuati to our paddocks?
Well, David Tuati has quite a following out of Miami with his FAR racing, but he's at a little disadvantage this afternoon because his right-hand Trish had to go do something with her grandson. So he has no Trish. So we'll see how David does without Trish.
We shall see. I love what we're seeing here. You can see the steering inputs that he's putting in. You can see the brake and the gas. I love seeing this illustration. He's got his visor up and ready to go. Now, the reason they call it sunset is about an hour from now, it's going to be very difficult driving into turn 17 and turn 7 because you are looking right at the sun.
It's terrible. Very hard.
We have that same problem if you're the first early morning race, which you
Down
usually are at
Yep.
COTA. You come up that thing and the sun is right at you.
Yep.
I could tell when I'm shooting at turn 1 at COTA, if I zoom in, I can tell the color of your eyes because it's just blasting.
It's very difficult with the sun, but you've done it so many times through that corner that a little bit is by feel and orientation, but it still rattles your cage a bit.
Just a few weeks from now, we're going to see all kinds of cars like this racing in the historic 12 Hours of Sebring. But Ralph Shaheen is here, the legend. He's going to bring us to the green flag.
All right, here we go, getting ready for the final event of this Saturday afternoon, the season opener, 2025 SVRA Sebring SpeedTour event. International GT, ready to thrill the fans and you viewers at home as we come towards the green flag off of the final corner. Waiting. Green flag, and we're racing here at Sebring. Twatty
right, they're
jumping out
through.
to the early lead there. We make our way down to turn number 1. He's going to hold on to it.
Lucas went way wide there and kind of opened up the door, but it looks like he was able to get
He's going to try Twatty again into that 1, 2, whatever. Nope.
Oh,
right,
one car off, 2 cars off. We'll keep racing for now.
That's in the Stuttgart Cup Series, the 2 Caymans that went
Looks
off.
like someone got off on the inside of that turn and but recovered without any contact. I saw no contact.
And it looks like they were able to get back up and going as they come into Mission Foods turn 7.
Merritt sitting here in 3rd. There's the Lamborghini with Seth Henry behind the wheel.
5th.
Car incredibly strong in race number 2 earlier today.
Is Mark Sandridge in his son's car?
Mark Sandridge is in a backup car, a 3.8 liter. He sustained some pretty heavy damage in the first race where John DeAngelis hit him pretty hard in the brake zone of 7. And so Mark went into a backup car.
That's terrible. Mark Sandridge is such a nice guy. And sometimes he finds himself in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Oh, here comes Merritt taking a look inside of Lucas. And Pank's going to hold him off.
Yeah, that looked like Lucas didn't have a good run there.
Yeah, he went way off to driver's right as they come through the Bennett Bridge Hall section. What are you seeing, Tom?
It seems to be okay now, but we'll find out. Maybe his tires aren't settled in yet. There's Bob Weisen.
What's Bob Weisen's wife's name?
Missy.
Missy. Huge help to International GT, and great to have her in the paddock with us. But from Mentor near Cleveland.
They pronounce it Menor.
Menor. Like Labani.
Battle for second. Still the best fight on the racetrack right now between Pank and Merritt.
But that Lamborghini's coming up quick. What would you be telling Lucas on the radio right now?
I wouldn't talk to him on the radio right now. Let him concentrate. He's got enough experience that he's gonna weigh things out, see how things settle out. You're feeling the whole thing out.
There's Sandrich there.
Yep.
In that Porsche. Behind our Submariner. Ralph, what do you think about this International GT? This is a lot of fun to watch, isn't it?
It is. I like Porsches quite a bit, so it's always fun to see the wide variety of 911s in here and some great racing. I love the addition of the
I don't know if the
Lamborghini, and Merritt's going to come around the outside here and try to make something happen in Mission Turn 7, and it looks like Seth might come right with him. Lucas got to straighten it up in a hurry to try to hold on to one position and not lose two.
So Lucas is in a 4-liter, as is Michael Merritt. Is that correct?
No, Lucas is in a 4R. It's a 3.8-liter tuned, but has to run in the 4R class.
Okay, I see.
Remember you talked earlier in the SVRA session about them tweaking the cars. Well, this is a 2010 or 2012 car that has had some bodywork modifications. It's running a little bigger wheel, and the motor has higher compression pistons, but it's still a 3.8. Okay. So in fairness to everyone else, they tighten the rules up and you run it in the highest category when you do these things.
That makes sense. Now watch the inputs there. Bottom of your screen, you can see where he's on the gas, on the brakes. You can see the inputs that he's putting into the wheels. Some just fantastic data here from David Tuati, who's currently leading the race. No sunglasses, looking into the sun. I do like that International GT likes their brightly colored cars.
Yeah.
So right now everybody's getting settled in. You're going into lap 3 or is it lap 4? And the tires are now up to temperature. So each racer is going to be looking for what's happening. Right now the pace is a good bit slower than it was this morning. But let's see how they work through.
They figured out the flapping on the front of Tuati's car. Remember that?
Yeah, I don't know, but I remember it was flapping.
And I know they put helicopter tape on it once, but one of the series they race in doesn't allow the helicopter tape.
Yeah, that's the Carrera car.
Seth Henry in that Lamborghini Huracan is an interesting young man. Talking with him the other day, he goes to Appalachian State, and I was asking him what he was working on there, and here he comes making a move on Merritt to the inside, and the Lambo is going to move up another spot. That'll put him up to third. And he was talking about how he's working in the esports world, helping high school esports competitors develop a career that gets them off to college and join an esports team in a major college and maybe go pro after that.
Lucas Pank now right behind Merritt. Michael Merritt. This is going to get interesting. You think Seth Henry's got it?
I think Lucas is getting settled in, and I think Seth Henry has the car definitely to take David Tuati, and I think that will occur.
Do you have something against rear bumpers?
No. That is a aero modification on that car.
Okay.
That is for airflow.
So it comes out quicker?
Yeah, you'll see there's an under tray on that car to give it downforce, and that's the diffuser.
For those you can't see
and the rear bumper actually is like a parachute on those cars.
When I asked Tom that, he gave me a pretty ugly look. You didn't like that question, did you?
was wondering where it was coming from. Now Lucas is riding Michael Merritt's bumper. So let's see what happens. Seems to be settled in.
Coming through Mission Foods Bridge, Juan Gonzalez, if you're watching, I hope you have a good time.
Seth Henry just turned a 2:08.
Yeah, he's on him. Look at that.
Yeah. And Twatty's at a 2:10.2.
Look at the wing. Look at the angle of that rear wing. Oh, yeah, he's got a
heck of a wing on that car. I noticed that when they pulled it out. They are running some serious
double yellow.
wing.
Oh, no. That is some crazy downforce on the rear wing of that Lamborghini.
Yes. And that car runs basically the same drivetrain as the R8s, but that is such a wedge shape to that car that it has far more advantageous aero to the R8.
But is that the angle it would run in like Super Trofeo?
I don't know. No, we have full course caution. I do not know that, but it's a.
That's a lot. That's a big angle.
Yeah.
Not sure what happened on track, but we are at full course caution as we look at the Cube 3 Turn 1. This could be the cause because that car is going slow with its hazards on. Never seen that before.
I don't know why they would do a full course yellow. Oh, that's the Cayman with the young kid, Luca Mars. So that's not a problem. They're probably just testing that, working with that car. But the full course yellow, something's going on.
Tell us about Luca Mars.
Luca Mars is a young kid who's in college. He's at one of the Carolina colleges. I can tell you that in 1 second. And he's with us for the first time. He's running with RS1, and he's attending the University of Kentucky.
Nice. Go Wildcats.
I believe he's 18. He's actually the past IMSA Pilot Cup champion.
Wow.
From last year.
Got some great shots from our camera operators on that angle of that Lamborghini. We were talking last time about Italian cars and how pretty they are. I can't think of a Lamborghini that I've liked.
Really?
Yeah. I know Seinfeld's favorite car is the Miura. I've just never liked Lamborghinis.
And
I come from that
tires?
like Countach.
Oh, someone
era.
hit the tires.
Yeah, somebody did hit the tires.
Who was that?
Where is that? 15, 16, or is that Bishop's Bend?
That looks like Bishop's Bend.
Yeah. So they hit the tires fast, going fast.
Wow.
So that's the full course yellow. That car that was coming down the back straight slowly may have grazed that, but they do have to fix the tire walls because if somebody else hit in that exact spot, it wouldn't be able to do what they're designed to do. And I tell you,
no, is that Bishop's Bend? No.
Yeah,
That's
just past it. Yeah.
That's before Bishop's Bend, isn't it?
I'll tell you this, though. I've watched this driver here in that heavy machinery move blocks really quick. He may be the most talented driver here at Sebring this weekend. It's unbelievable how quickly he can move these, 3,000, 4,000-pound blocks around and put them exactly where they need to go. The Sebring safety team works very fast here. But you can see the sun. It's starting to be an issue here as they come into turn 7.
And on the in-car, it makes it extra difficult, but it gives you a perspective of what the driver's seeing. That sun angle is the same onto the camera, but the camera has sensors, it dims it, whatever, but it can be a nightmare. Luckily, the clouds are there a little bit to dampen it.
Do you always race with your visor up?
Yes.
Do you?
But you have it so if you have fire or something, you can flip it down.
Mm-hmm.
But I do not like to wear sunglasses, or I have a colored visor. I'll crack it when the sun's real bad, so I'll look through a slot and tip my head up and down to work with the sun. But it's I do not like sunglasses or visor.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you're hearing from Tom Pank, who has won the International GT Championship. He's won countless races with us. One of our best drivers in International GT, but unfortunately he can't be driving here. His son is currently in 4th place overall in this race, and we're getting some great insight here. We don't often get to have the drivers here with us in the booth, so unbelievable. We have a lot of people joining us in the comment section. Hopefully we get back to green here at Sebring.
They're coming through 7 right now. I had an unfortunate incident there on Thursday where on the first session I had an engine fire, and that put me out for the weekend. But we'll be back in Atlanta.
Did you strip down to your underwear and say I'm on fire?
No. I was fine. The sport is dangerous, but there's an incredible amount of safety personnel and safety measures in place. It's as safe as we can make it. Let's put it that way. So it's really not that bad.
Look at the wrap on that Cayman.
It says Seth Henry's in front, so I guess he did get twatty. I didn't see that pass.
I didn't either. I don't think he is.
Oh, maybe it's the timing that you have. Oh, he is not. He is not. Okay.
Yeah, Tuati's in the. Tuati's second behind a Ginetta pace car.
Okay, but the list on our screen.
Yeah, the screen's
different.
wrong. But that Ginetta led the most laps in the TA2 race this afternoon.
So it looks like they're going to go green. The double yellow's off at start finish. The lights are out in the safety car. So green this time around.
Ken Fangler, you want to join? Tell us about International GT. Tom, will you introduce us?
And now we have our Chief of International GT, Ken Fangler, here in the booth with us. And Ken, we've had a pretty uneventful race so far with one minor hiccup, and we're about to go green.
Yeah, it's disappointing whenever the disappointment on my face when I see go double yellow, but that was a single car deal, had some tires to deal with, and we went back.
All right, now we're getting ready to go green, so go ahead, Ralph.
All right, here we go, getting ready to come off the Sunset. Final corner leading up onto that front straightaway here. Watching our flagman. There's the green, and we're racing once again, headed towards turn number 1. Tuati and Henry battling for the edge to 1. Henry on the outside, staying right alongside of him, not giving up yet, and now finally has to pull back in line. Merritt sits there in third, and Pank tucked back in fourth in the green and blue.
Well, we made it through there good. Nice restart, guys. Let's finish it out.
Just a handful of laps of green flag racing left if we can get them all in.
Yeah, well, given the fact that it's never perfect, we'd like it to be, and but we've been pretty happy. The International GT first race of the year. A number of new guys. We have 7 new customers here this weekend on 27 cars. And very happy to have them. And we've had, once we got that incident out of the way early on, yet in the first race, we had a heck of a race for second place in that first race. And this is race 3 of our sprint weekend, and we'll be on tomorrow morning with a 60-minute enduro, which reshuffle the deck and everything changes.
Tuati able to stay in front of Henry in that Lamborghini Huracan. But Henry was putting down some good laps just before the full course caution. He seemed to have the edge at that point, Tom.
Yeah, Henry is about 2 seconds a lap on fastest lap, faster than David Tuati. So we'll see. Now they're getting resettled in from the caution, and you're back in the groove. It takes a little bit. Your focus gets reshifted, and then you got to get zoned back in, if you will.
Everybody with the headlights on.
And that's where they're at now.
Lucas Pank tucked right up behind Merritt. He got a good run up onto the Ullman straightaway here.
Yeah, Lucas is going to try to get a run out of 17, and if he can set it up good, then he can get him in turn 1. But this is a tough track. It looks like Lamborghini is having a hard time on Tuati. David Tuati just turned a 2:08.7. So he's actually got a faster lap than the Lamborghini.
Here comes Pank looking inside again. Couldn't make it happen.
Lucas didn't get by. Still sitting in fourth.
Boy, that Lamborghini does have some closing speed on Tuati right there.
It does. Look at that.
Yeah.
Good to see Mark Sandridge back out there. He was involved in unfortunate, wrong place, wrong time, and the receiver of the incident this morning. But fortunately had his son's backup car in the trailer and rolled it out. They looked both the same, 58 and 59. So hats off to the Team Salad team for getting that car out, doing an alignment, and getting that car ready to race.
It seems to me that the Lambo is making up a lot of ground under braking. He seems to be able to carry a lot of terminal speed down the straightaway and go a little bit deeper into the corner.
I think part of that is perhaps the youthfulness of the driver not being comfortable with that high-level braking that the car can do. And that's one of the big advantages with a car like that is incredible braking and acceleration. And don't forget, that's a full GT3 car with downforce and all. So I believe you're going to see a move here coming into 17. He's right on 20.
Might see one from Lucas, too. He's closed right up on Merritt again.
Merritt really defending, moving over towards the inside of 17, so Lucas can't ditch over. But he is looking for that slingshot out of 17 that he can catch him down in 1.
Yeah, he's right there with him. He just can't quite close it. But he's been getting close on him going into 2, through 1 into 2. So we'll see if he can pull that off.
He's given him a lot to think about as they set up for turn number 1. He is filling up the mirrors on Merritt, that's for sure.
When someone's defending at that level, I learned a little thing that was from a gentleman named Wolf Hensley. Wolf said, when I see him look in the mirror the first time, he knows I'm there. When I see him look in the mirror the second time, I know I got him. Oh, boy. I didn't think that was really allowed. Double defensive move. I think that's... I'm surprised the Lamborghini has not closed Twatty yet. Fastest lap there, 2:07.6 for Seth Henry.
Well, and he's running out of opportunities, too.
No white flag yet, so a lap and a half or more. At least a lap and a half, let's say.
It'd be hard to put more pressure on than Lucas is putting on him right now, I'll tell you that. It's a good job by Merritt to weather the storm.
Yep.
You saw that wiggle from George Michael coming out of there, and Lucas right on his tail. I think Lucas was hoping for a little bigger mistake, but at least it got his attention.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Here comes Lucas looking inside. Nope, going to get right back behind Merritt. Here comes the white flag. One more tour around. And it looks like Tawadi's got a little bit bigger lead than he's had here in recent laps.
Tawadi turned a 500th of a second lap slower than Seth Henry that time, so he's keeping his distance. He got him.
Lucas got around him.
Okay.
He made the move on the front straightaway and completed the pass going into turn 1. That was a fun battle to watch.
Okay, now Seth Henry's really putting the pressure on Twatty.
He sure is. Looking outside, which will be the inside of the next corner, and then back to the outside. Can't get it done through there. Turn 7.
Well, this is good racing. This is how we like it. Now they're half a lap to go, and they just got to bring it in.
Here comes the Lambo again, and he's around him. New leader here at Sebring. Could be 2 in a row for the Lamborghini.
Twatty's not giving up.
It looked like Henry bobbled a little bit there.
Yes.
Coming to the far end of the racetrack. We'll be heading back out onto the Holman Straight here. Lucas starting to open up a gap there from third to fourth. The Lambo trying to stretch out the lead here. Into sunset for the final time with the lights ablaze. Here comes Pank holding on solidly to third and a spot on the podium. Checkered flag awaits. And the young student from Appalachian State will take the win, Seth Henry. And the Lamborghini Huracan will be the winner here. That's 2 wins in the day for that car, 2 different drivers. Twatty will finish in second. Pank will get third. And Merritt should be fourth.
Good run
All
for
right, here comes
International
Mark
GT.
Sandrich taking the checkered.
Yep, good for Mark. Yeah, I got back in the car after that episode in that first race. I'd like to thank our marketing partners, Pirelli and Mission Foods.
Third. Could be. I don't know. I don't see that possible.
Yeah, he didn't show up before. So
I didn't either, but
no,
just
he was
looking
down in
at
fifth,
timing and scoring.
Yeah, we'll take a look at it. Russell has had a good race on the Hairy Dog Garage. You know, he's competitive, but wasn't in the top 3 throughout that.
No, he was fifth.
Yeah, he was fifth.
And we have, let me check with Lucas, see how he did. Good job, Lucas. Bring it on in. Heck of a race. Yeah, they're going to put the pros in tomorrow, so it might be a little tougher than you're ready for.
Yeah, tomorrow we'll kick off with the IGT endurance race, and then we'll have a whole bunch of racing throughout the day, including our TransAm series presented by Pirelli. We'll have historic TransAm again, and it'll be a big day of competition here at Sebring.
Tom, well, what do you think of this new position you got here?
Oh, no. This is hopefully a one-off for the year.
I see.
You only
Ben
get
was
this.
here earlier. He was glad to hand off to me a sec, but I thought, you could, you got upon retirement, you got a second career, in the broadcast booth, Hey, it worked for Tom Brady.
I think when I'm done with racing, I'll be done with racing.
Yeah, I see. Got it. Well,
I'm gonna stay in the car as long as I can.
The boys got some time left. So thank you for all for being here. On behalf of International GT, we had some good competition throughout the field. Stuttgart Cup, we're going to head down to the podium, give some stuff away, tell some lies, tell them how good we were. But it was a good race. We had just a short yellow just to clean up things. And we look forward to tomorrow's endurance race and 60 minutes of racing with a pit stop. Things will change up. On behalf of International GT, thank you for being part of the Speed Tour. Fantastic broadcast. So thanks, guys. Appreciate the invite.
See you all tomorrow.
Thanks for coming by, and we'll see you then.
All right.
Been a great day of racing here at Sebring. We got a whole bunch more coming your way tomorrow, including our main event, TransAm Series presented by Pirelli. The highlight of the day, historic TransAm will be running again. We'll have the endurance race for IGT and a bunch of the SVRA classes all in action. For our entire broadcast crew, I'm Ralph Shaheen. So long and good night for now. We'll see you tomorrow, Sunday, here from Sebring. So long, everybody.
up and get ready for race day with Mission Foods. The world's best racers and tastiest products come together to make every race delicious. Fully loaded tacos, fast wraps, piled high nachos. Whatever you crave, Mission will help you be race ready with easy-to-make recipes that will take your race day to the finish line. Keep your racing delicious and enjoy all the mouth-watering action. Brought to you by Mission Foods. Too fast, too tasty.
You've got a business to run, big and heavy products to ship, and customers who need them now. When you've got the right driver and the right equipment, you can bet on a spectacular result. Bennett understands complex logistics and puts the best team, the most time, and the latest technology into every customer relationship, so you can sit back, relax, and enjoy the race. Let us handle the rest.
Together, we can move anything.
Okay, so pretend this is your race car. It's on the trailer, and you have an accident. Ouch! At least your truck's insurance will pay for another one? Yeah, not so fast. Standard insurance won't replace your race car, whether it's in the trailer, in the paddock, in the garage, or the repair shop. But at Hagerty, we can protect it for what it's really worth anytime it's off the track. No matter what or where you race, offer less than a set of race tires. Hagerty, let's drive together.
The Mission Foods Road Atlanta Speed Tour returns to Michelin Raceway, Road Atlanta, March 21st through the 23rd. Featuring the TransAm Series presented by Pirelli, the Sports Car Vintage Racing Association, International GT, PSSA, FRP, and the Janetta Challenge. Saturday, you can take part in the Hagerty Cars and Caffeine Car Show with Parade Lap. You do not want to miss the Road Atlanta Speed Tour, March 21st through the 23rd. For tickets, simply go to speedtour.net.